general, as we look at this college football playoff season, weird year. The Big Ten is the conference that gets two teams into the college football playoff this year. It looks like Georgia's college football. I want to start off, Fitz, from what you've seen of this season. The new team on the block is TCU. As we approach this, is this just good story? Do you believe they actually have a chance to do something when they get up here in this big stage? How do you feel about their matchup going up against the Wolverines?
Better to be lucky than good is something that I've said to you for years, right? Like, it's just better to be lucky than good. And TCU, I mean, there is no doubt about the fact that they've had a year where they've been kissed by the football gods. Their defense has started slow in a bunch of games. It has hurt them. I keep thinking about the fact that their playoff chances came down to a wild play call with 12 seconds left. No timeouts left. You run that kicking team out and you just decide you're going to kick the ball. I mean, how different that one play could have made everything. So I think at some point there's a swagger that comes with that, right? But there are certain things that are very legit about TCU. They have a legit running back. They have legit wide receivers. And they have a quarterback that people keep telling me isn't naturally gifted, but works hard and has that sort of extra oomph, right? I don't know. He looks pretty naturally gifted to me. Like, when you watch the Big 12 championship game and he came around the corner, the safety had the angle. And Max Duggan flat out was like, you had the angle, good sir, as he outran him. So, like, I think Duggan is really, really special. And frankly, then you take the other side of this, right? Michigan is an offense that at times has struggled to figure out what to do when they can't get Blake Corum going, right? And we don't have 100% if we have any of Blake Corum. So for me, I actually think TCU has a real shot in this football game. Michigan was an okay football team that played really well in the biggest game possible against Ohio State, taking nothing away from that. But I don't know that I trust J.J. McCarthy to do that again, even consistently, even against a questionable TCU defense. So of the two games, I think there's a much better shot of an upset here.
For me, I feel different about it. Like, when I look at TCU, I think there's only been three consistent pieces to their entire team this season, right? And you mentioned those, Fitz. You talked about the quarterback, Max Duggan, Quentin Johnston, the wide receiver, and Kendre Miller. Their defense has been non-existent, and the defense is the reason why they had to come back in a lot of those games and actually made them more likely to lose a football game. We all seen what Deuce Vaughn was able to do from the running back position at Kansas State. And it wasn't even Kansas State one time. Kansas State beat them the second time. Kansas State should have beat them the first time as well. And then you have other opponents that felt that same way, but because you had a quarterback like Max Duggan. But I think when you look at Michigan, the physicality that they play with, right? The run game is going to be there. Can you stop it? And J.J. McCarthy is a part of that run game. That's something that wasn't added last year when you had Cade McNamara as your quarterback. So when I look at this team now, defensively for Michigan, you have a constant there. A lot of people thought, okay, we lost Aiden Hutchinson. We lost Jabo. We lost guys in the secondary. We lost a defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator. How are we going to get the band back together? Jim Harbaugh's done a hell of a job with this team this year, and it's not their first trip. It's their second trip, and I'm pretty sure they have the odds. They got to win this game against TCU, but I'm pretty sure they want that rematch against UGA, who foot stomped them last year in the Orange Bowl in the semifinals game a year ago.
I mean, win. They either get the rematch against Georgia or they get Ohio State for a national.
Yeah, either way it go. Yeah, it is a rematch.
And I don't think either team's going to stop either team in that TCU Michigan game. By the way, I mean, give me Michigan, Ohio State for a national championship all day long. God.
Oh, I'm not ready to watch Ohio State fans potentially combust if they were to lose to that team in these two games twice in 1 year.
Oh.
But like the other side of it is, we watched Georgia get that ass whooped last year in the SEC championship game, turn around and win a natty, right? So like the whole concept's going to be like, okay, Ohio State figured it out. This time it won't happen. I'm still shook it. Like, you let your biggest rival come into your house without their best player, and they just took you behind the shed and whooped your ass for an entire football game. Ohio State's effort in that was just.
Well, that's the thing, though. Do you think they even have an opportunity against Georgia, though?
Yes. So this is the interesting. Well, let's put it this way: I expect Georgia to win that game. Do I expect Ohio State to probably play better? Potentially, because when I go back and look at that Michigan game, the thing that's surprising me, Fitz, is they got worn down by big plays more than anything. Down in, down out. Michigan didn't whoop their ass up front in the way that I expected them to in that game. That's one of the best offensive lines in college football. They were the Joe Moore Award winner last year, and they're one of the finalists for it again, along with Georgia this year. And watching that game, it was what you expected with Jim Knowles coming over in Ohio State's defense. They were holding up at the point of attack. It was the back end of that defense that betrayed them. It was big plays. It was guys falling down. It was 60-yard touchdowns that a lot of them were run after catch plays by Ronnie Bell and those wide receivers. We know there were a couple of nice balls by McCarthy, which he's got in the bag. But I guess all that is to say is why I think TCU's got a chance to keep it close is because down in, down out, I still do wonder. For Michigan all year, we didn't see their downfield passing game show up like that until that moment. Even when they played Michigan State, who stops nothing and nobody, even when they played Penn State, they beat them on the ground in both of those games. And so you look, the one advantage I'd say, Harry, to the TCU defensive side, the two corners they got, Josh Newton and Travius Hodges-Tomlinson, LT's little nephew there.
Yep.
Both of those guys can go out there and cover a little bit. And so now all of a sudden, when you get into some of those big play spots, I do have a little bit of confidence in those guys to maybe put up more of a fight. It's just going to be, can that Michigan line go back to winning down in, down out in a way I don't think they necessarily did down in and down out versus Ohio State?